mic for tonight is Lonnie.
Hi everyone, I'm Lonnie. I'm an alcoholic. I have a sobriety date of November 19th, 2017. I have a sponsor who knows that I'm her sponsee, and she also has a sponsor, and I meet with her every week and we work in the book. 10 minutes is a little hard, so I'm just gonna do the best I can. But so I grew up here in South Bay. My mom and my dad, they met in AA and they had a sobriety baby, which was me. And so I grew up coming to AA meetings, the ones that allowed kids, and I thought they were so fun, like the childcare, like all the other kids. It was actually a really fun time. There was one meeting in particular that I remember going to when I was a little kid. I called it Green Street. I don't know what meeting that was, but it was over in North Redondo somewhere, and they had like food and all the kids, and we'd like play in these filing cabinets, and it was really fun. So I always had kind of like a knowing about AA. And I knew that I really didn't want to be an alcoholic. I really didn't want to like have to end up here. But that being said, so I had friends. I knew right from wrong. I had a strong sense of self. Like honestly, like I didn't really have any reason to be an alcoholic. I was pretty stable family growing up, but unfortunately, my father did pass away at 13, and I'm not going to say that's what made me an alcoholic, but I think that loss may have triggered my predisposition for alcoholism. So what happened was the very first time I took a drink, I was going into 9th grade, and I had always looked older, and there was a few boys that I knew on Facebook. This is back in the beginning of the internet. So there was a few boys that I knew on Facebook, and they were in high school, and I thought they were cute. And so we went down to the beach, and we drank, and I threw up on the sand everywhere, and I was spinning, and they were getting me bread from Mickey's, and it was the best time ever. And from that moment, my whole life became about drinking and using. That was it for me. Even though I wasn't able to black out, I physically couldn't drink enough without throwing up. I don't know why you throw up. I think it's like mild poisoning or whatever. But I was experiencing that before I could actually hit the blackout. But once I built a tolerance, I was a blackout drinker every single time, regardless of the consequences that I had, right? So in high school, it was very hard to drink and use the way that I wanted to because I had a sober mom who would always threaten to send me to Utah. And I did not want to go to Utah, you guys. I wanted to party down here in the sand. And unfortunately, I knew that we had the means to be able to send me to Utah, so I knew that she meant it. It wasn't an empty threat. So I did a little Hannah Montana, and I lived 2 different lives. And I would do high risk behavior, like sneak out and spend the night outside with like my girlfriend, just random stuff, just to be able to drink, and it wasn't even any fun, right? Until I got into college. So everything I did was to be able to make just good enough grades to get into college to be able to leave. And that was kind of like the whole thing. Like Lonnie's going to be the child that gets her college degree and she's going to do something, right? So I was able to ride the coattails on that to like kind of like manipulate my way into my alcoholism. So I chameleon into a sorority, one of the top ones at University of Arizona. And from that, I really wish I could tell you a bunch of crazy stories, but one of the only things I vividly remember is that, guys, I am not allowed to use Uber or Lyft anymore. I am permanently banned from my days in my sorority from peeing and puking in too many people's cars. So to this day, I cannot get an Uber or a Lyft. And so that's just how my drinking went, okay? Like for 2 years, I fail out, just blacked out the entire time. I wish I had more stories about that, but you guys know how it goes. So, one day I woke up and a dude had like left me kind of just like on the side, kind of by my house, kind of in a bush. I was covered in throw up. My mom had went to work that morning. I woke up around noon and it was like on my neighbor's front lawn, And I was just like, I just can't do this anymore. I just wanted to die. I didn't want to be alive anymore. I wasn't able to communicate with people. I used drinking as like social lubricant to like talk and flirt and be pretty and, all the things. And it got to the point where I couldn't even, all I could say is, okay, let's just drink more. That was all I could communicate with people. And that was really sad as a girl who was 21, right? I got sober at 21. And I prayed my first honest prayer that I had prayed since middle school. Thank you. It was, God, I really don't want to be an alcoholic, but I'm going to go to an AA meeting. And I need you to show me a sign, because if I don't get a sign this AA meeting, I was so demanding, you guys. This AA meeting, I am never coming back. And I earnestly meant that. I meant that. So I walk into the 9:30 meetings at the Hermosa Beach Alano Club, and this is after I had been going to a church program, and I've been telling my mom I've been going to Codependence Anonymous, because I didn't want to tell her that I think I might have an alcohol problem, because then I knew really that like I'm getting kicked out. I'm really going to be left to my own devices, right? So I lied and said I'm going to a Codependence Anonymous program, and I was really going to like some Celebrate Recovery thing at the church, right? And it just wasn't working. I needed to go to AA. I knew that intuitively, probably from growing up with two sober parents. But I walk in, and there was 2 birthday shares. There was a boy and a girl, and they both shared my exact same story. And at that moment, right then and there, I had internally done my first step. I had surrendered completely to the fact that I was an alcoholic and that I was powerless over alcohol right there. And obviously I got a sponsor and I worked the steps. But for me, that moment, it was like I didn't need to go out and experiment anymore. I was like, okay, I'm here to stay. I know what happens if I go out, and I don't want to die. I want to have hope for my life. So my first year in AA, I had a sponsor, but poor thing, we were working the steps not outlined in the big book. And so I got really crazy, you guys. When you take away alcohol and you don't do the steps, you go nuts. Psycho. So, my devices and my greatest thinking got me to, okay, I'm too afraid to break up with my sponsor because she's friends with all the cool people in AA, and if I break up with her, then I'm going to be alone. And so it was like, okay, I need to relapse and then start over and ghost her. That's how this is going to go, right? I have a year sober, by the way, guys. That was my best thinking. And there was a guy named Steve and his sister Darren, and they said, no, we know a lady that can sponsor you. And I went to the Thursday night meeting, and again, I was like, look, if this doesn't work out, I'm really going to kill myself this time, and I mean it. And I really meant it. I was like, I'm going to just drink myself until I die. I'm going to give this one more chance. So I gave AA in life one more chance, and I went through the steps as outlined in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I didn't want to kill myself anymore. And I thought, if that's as good as this shit gets, I am never leaving. I'm keeping my seat. If that's as good as this gets, I do not care, because I hadn't felt like I hadn't wanted to die since I'd been, 15 years old. So it was finally the first time in my adolescence or my adult life that I just didn't want to kill myself. And I know that sounds bleak and gnarly, but that's really what it was for me. And I wish that some people had pink clouds. I didn't. It took me a while to find my tribe. I had experienced some heartbreak in the fellowship. I know that many of you guys probably have too. And, it got to a point where I never wanted to come back to AA again. Because, sometimes people don't work principles. And I'm sorry, not principles, the traditions. There's certain traditions that people don't work, and it hurts people, and that's my story. That's what happened to me. It hurt me. But I gave again, like I did when I was 1 year sober. I gave life a chance again. I gave AA a chance again, because I knew if I isolated and I didn't come back to meetings, I was going to drink and I was going to die and I was going to want to kill myself, and I didn't want to do that. So I showed up again. I walked through the fear, and, my life is like, I feel like I'm going to start crying, guys. My life is so big and so full, and it's so good. And even though I struggle with wanting to be married and things like that, and that hasn't come to fruition for me yet, but it's like my life is so big. I have so many beautiful people that want to hear me speak and want to have me be involved, and I can help so many people. And I started getting involved in GSR, and I had no idea what that was, but my girlfriend Alex, she was like, you should do it. And I was like, okay. And I'm making all these connections, and one of the greatest miracles that's happened recently from, working the steps and staying in my seat and not giving up 5 minutes before the miracle and being honest with my 10 steps and my 11th, and no one's ever asked me to sponsor them, but my 12th is I try to be of service to people, speak on panels, I show up, I take commitments. There's other ways to be of service rather than just sponsoring people. And I went to the international convention in Canada, and I honestly thought I was never going to be able to get on a flight sober. I really didn't think I was going to be able to do it, guys. When I used to fly, it was like, it was gnarly. So, you know what? And after I did it, God removed that fear, and I feel like my whole world has opened up. And I just want to say, if you're new, or if you're feeling new, or if you're feeling hurt, just stay, because nothing lasts forever. And like, hallways get dark, but there's always periods of light to get you through, right? And at the end, it's better than I could have even imagined. Like, honestly, like, not only do I not want to kill myself, which is awesome, but I genuinely like myself today. The promises that we read almost like at every single meeting have come true for me. And, I know for a lot of other people in this room, they have too. And I just want to, like, my gratitude for AA is so big. And, so thank you guys for allowing me to participate in my recovery. And, just stay. Thank you.
We will now recite the Serenity Prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Now our main speaker will share his or her experience, strength, and hope with us. Please join me in welcoming Darren.
Oh, is that me?
Yeah.
Darren, alcoholic. Can we move this? I still fidget too much after all these years. I'm Darren, and I'm an alcoholic. Don't know if I need those speakers. I couldn't whisper in a sawmill. We will comprehend the word serenity, and we will know peace. That means the voices in your head will quiet down. I don't know what I'm going to talk about. I had a buzz going for 9 million minutes. You know what it takes to keep a good buzz going for 9 million minutes? Some of you do. If you didn't bring your calculator, that's 17 years. From 11th grade until I turned 33. If I was sober one day between 11th grade and 33 years old, it was not my idea. I get up here and you don't want to hear about my sordid childhood, about I went to the best schools with the best kids, and my mom and dad are awesome, and two of the finest people ever to walk this planet, and I'd come to these meetings, and you'd be talking about broken homes and dysfunctional families and party animal neighborhoods and dropping out of school, and I'm like, I can't be an alcoholic. I'll come from none of that. If you're new, listen for the differences, not the similarities. Because we're really sorry drinking's ruined your life. We're here to ruin your drinking. And if you start looking for the similarities, we're going to ruin your drinking. And then you're going to be that whole, head full of AA, stomach full of booze, it doesn't mix kind of thing, like oil and, yeah. You don't want to be there. These guys have heard this joke so many times, but me and Keith got sober together a long time ago in a land far, far away. When I was a little kid in the 60s, does that look like that? Not one gray hair. I was a little kid in the 60s. They said if you remember the 60s, you weren't there. I was a little kid. I remember I went to 4 elementary schools, and my parents never moved. So I was at St. Martin. Every one of those schools, I've been to meetings. They have meetings there. God, coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous. God thinks he's funny. I only went to St. Martin in the Fields for half of 3rd and 4th grade. So somewhere around 3rd or 4th grade, 1966, something like that. I was on the yard And I was on the yard. And I'm on the jungle gym, rocking back and forth on the jungle gym, and I'm not playing with these kids, but, they're saying these nursery rhymes, like with the double Dutch ropes and stuff, like marijuana, marijuana, LSD, LSD. Scientists make it, teachers take it, why can't we? I've told that joke so many times, and like once in a meeting, this person came up to me and goes, I know the second half. I'm like, wow, you're old too. So I went to, St. Joseph the Worker for second grade and half of third. And fast forward like 30 years later, there was a Friday night Cocaine Anonymous midnight meeting at St. Joseph the Worker in the classrooms. And they had this long classroom building. And coincidences, you go in the front door, and it was like really wide doors. And you turn left, and there's a really wide staircase. And we would go up the stairs, down the hall, third classroom on the right. Out of every classroom in this entire school. I'm there just passing through. I have no desire to get sober. I don't know what these meetings are all about. I'm just in the meeting, and I said to the secretary, like, why is the meeting in this room? This is the room the church wants us to use. And he walked away. And I'm like, this is the room I got kicked out of third grade. Not any of the other rooms, this one. God thinks he's funny. Anyway, when I smoked weed for the first time when I was 13, the very last day of 8th grade, like, I don't even know if we got high or not, but all I could think was, finally. Some shake we got from the older kids, finally. And an hour later, I'm in the corner getting screamed at by my dad. Where were you? Arr, arr, arr. I was over there. No, you weren't. You're lying. Start over. And I'm like, oh, we came around the other side. No, I was over there too. You're lying. Start over. And my dad's a retired sheriff. Not retired on that day, and he's a sergeant, so he's used to getting his way. And he's like, you're lying. Start over. It was something about, I wanted to smoke my first joint so bad. I pawned my little sister off on the neighbors, who was like 8 years younger and didn't leave a note. So they were looking crazily for her. And then they found her, but didn't find me. So by then they had lost their minds. And I'm in the corner like, arr, arr. I think the first time I get high, I'm in trouble. An hour later, because a sign. No, we don't get that. So he's screaming at me, you're lying, start over. And I'm like, arr, arr, arr. Oh no, we went down, you're lying, start over. You know what? After a while, I wore him down and he went away. So rule number 1 is don't get caught. Rule number 2, don't get caught. Rule number 3, deny to the bitter end. I don't care what they know, what they think they know. It wasn't me. It was a guy who looked like me. I left early. I had nothing to do with it. I told him not to do it. I don't know what you're talking about. Just deny to the bitter end. I come to these meetings, and if you go to the step study and get spoon-fed this thing 3 pages at a time, and if you go to the book study and get spoon-fed this thing 3 pages, I don't care how good your sponsor is, go to the book study and get spoon-fed this thing 3 pages at a time. Go to the step study, get spoon-fed. In step 4, in the 12 and 12, written 10 years before I was born, it says, we brought alibis to a fine art. Denied to in step 1, it says admitted. In step 5, it says admitted. In step 10, it says admitted. That's not where we come from. We come from denied to the bitter end. If you're new and clearing away the wreckage of your past sounds like a hassle, it is. If you're new and building a new and better way of life sounds like a hassle, it is. But man, it's way easier than living life loaded one day at a time. Clearing the tracks and covering the tracks and clearing the tracks. I heard a speaker say you can lose the character defect when there's no longer a payoff in it for you. If you're new, character defects are like lying, cheating, stealing, conning, conniving, and manipulating, usually to protect my right to stay loaded one more day. Clearing the tracks. Amazing when you take the drugs and alcohol out of your day, how much you don't need to lie, cheat, steal, con, connive, manipulate, when you're not spending the rent money on partying and borrowing money from everyone at the job site. Oh my God. It's a game you can't win. It's way too much work. I'm always handing out food to the homeless. And my wife's like, why do you do that? I go, those people keep me sober. And they're like working their asses off. And I'm like, a 40-hour job is less work than whatever this is. I never tell them I'm a sober member of Alcoholics Anonymous. I say shit like, I used to be homeless, but then I quit smoking cocaine and then I quit being homeless. Like, fuck, who knew? And I just levy there for them. And let's see. Okay, so my mom graduated from all-girls Catholic high school in Hollywood in 1959. No dirty jokes, no cussing, no smoking, no drinking. She thinks the nuns are still watching her. I mean, maybe they are. So mother doesn't know anything about it, so we can't keep that. She don't know nothing about partying. And, my dad worked 3 to midnight my entire childhood. So, just don't get caught. Don't get caught. We lived in this giant house on the hill, and he used to come home in the sheriff car to do the paperwork for mother's beauty shop and paperwork for the rental houses and shit. We'd be up on the balcony, like smoking weed in high school, and they'd be like, "Fuck, the cops are here!" And it's like, "Oh, that's Darren's dad, quick!" And we would just run down the balcony, jump off the other side, and run over to one of the other kids' houses. And my parents are full-blown workaholics. If you lived in the neighborhoods I lived in and went to the schools I went to, your parents were also workaholic, which means no one was ever home. They were never home. My parents worked 3 jobs each for 80 years, and now they have his and hers mansions, and they're still married, and mother's 85. She's probably at work right now. I'll tell you what a workaholic mother is. And then we'll talk about normies for a second. Normies cannot understand why we do this, why you did this. Why would he possibly trade that $100,000 job because he wouldn't stop drinking? It's like, no, he couldn't stop drinking. It's like, I can't believe he lost the prettiest girl in the world because he wouldn't stop getting loaded. And it's like, no, because he couldn't. They don't understand the difference between will not and cannot. And in the beginning, they read will not or cannot. The will nots become the cannots, right? The will nots become the cannots. And let's see, here's how oblivious normies are. 1992, I'm in rehab because, I belong in rehab, and I had nowhere else to go. And then that was long before cell phones, and, some guy calls the landline at mother's house and says, "Oh, we got this startup company, and we really need him bad. He's the best there ever was." And so when I called from the rehab to tell mom how great I'm doing, she puts the call through. "Oh, yeah, that Jimmy guy called, and they're starting a new company out in Nagura, and they need you bad." And so I left rehab, went to the new job. They were paying me $1,000 a week in 1992 money. And after 11 months, they said, "We're paying you guys too much. We're moving the factory to Mexico. We're going to pay them $5 a day." Every penny I made at that job, I spent on partying. Every single penny. It's like, I was in rehab because I belonged in rehab. Let's see. So mother went to any length to keep us out of trouble. I figured mother doesn't know anything about getting loaded, and my dad does, but I keep it quiet, and I think he's like, don't ask, don't tell, and he knows, and don't get caught. And on one of their countless vain attempts to get me sober, they were trying to do an intervention or some shit before it was fashionable, and they didn't know how to do it. It was just a lot of yelling and screaming, and "Yeah, you don't know nothing, leave me alone," Step 1, every unmanageable thing in my life is somebody else's fault, and getting loaded is not the problem. I got a lot of problems, and getting loaded isn't one of them. You don't know nothing. So during the screaming, it came out, my mom's brother died when I was like 10. He dropped over dead. He was 42. And I guess he was a heroin addict for like 18 years. He was 7 years older than her, in and out of boys' school, in and out of reform school, in and out of juvie, in and out of jail, in and out of prison. Rehabs were whatever they were in the 50s. And he had 4 little kids. He quit the heroin, but he didn't quit drinking. And he didn't quit Tipperillos all day and Marlboros all night, and dropped dead of a heart attack at 42. And I think there might have been crosstops involved or something. I don't know. So he had 4 little kids, never got to see them grow up. So during the screaming match, I found out mother knew all about it. It just wasn't her thing, right? So mother knew all about it, and yada, yada, yada. So that's when I realized in my childhood, I was on June Mountain race team. I snow skied in June Mountain like every weekend from the time I was 6 years old till I was like 16, and I snow skied with the best in the world, and no problem going 70 miles an hour on a pair of skis. And I bicycle raced with the best in the world. I was there when they invented mountain bikes. School was super easy for me. I had a pilot's license when I was 17. I built race car engines for NASCAR. Everything was just so easy. I had the world on a silver platter. And when you're flying little Cessnas at like 18 years old, and I go to the airport by myself, 18 years old, oh yeah, I like the blue one, 667, give me 6, okay. Take it up, fly it up Santa Barbara, over to Santa Paula, a couple touch and goes, bring it back, land it, fill it with gas, park it, by myself. And I would do that all the time. And then they had this really stupid rule with those little airplanes, 8 hours bottle to throttle. I think it's more now, I think it's like 12. But by the time I was 19, I could not get 8 hours. And I traded, airplanes for weed because I could not go 8 hours without getting stoned. And so kids today, like, don't explain shit to me, okay? I sold a pound of pot a week for 10 years. I never had a bag of weed smaller than a pillow. Every bong load I ever took was free. I got sober in a 7 a.m. meeting because I like wake and bake. You guys like wake and bake? I was working at a bar in Santa Monica in 1983 when I was 21. When you're 1,000 feet from the beach and you're the daytime bartender at Willie Tiffany's on Main Street, you're everybody's best friend. And I met some girl, and she took me home one night, and I stayed there for 6 months. And she's like, "You're smoking weed at 6 in the morning every day?" And I'm like, "Yeah, so what? I've been doing it forever." And she's like, she was much more of an alcoholic. That chick could drink 30 drinks and not even look buzzed. My kind of girl. So one night she calls up. It's in the middle of the night, California time. She's calling West by God, Virginia, where's she from? And she gets some old lady on the phone, gets the phone number of a different old lady, hangs up on her, calls this other old lady. It's got to be like 4 in the morning, West Virginia time. Gets the recipe for Bailey's. Bailey's is like $16 a bottle, right? You can make a blender full for $4, fill 2 blenders, at which point I had Bailey's and coffee every morning for the next 10 years. And I would come to these meetings, and you talk about shit-face, fall-down drinking, and black hat drink. I'm like, no, I don't like that. I just need to have that medium buzz going all day long. I want to Bailey's and coffee for breakfast, smoke some weed, maybe just a little pinch of crystal meth in my orange juice to get me out the door, and operate dangerous machinery all day. And the audacity of those normies to think I shouldn't cook crack with a welding machine while I'm doing fighter jet parts, and jeez, I don't get it. So I had this other girl. I had this other girl, and her family came and did an intervention. This was years before it was fashionable, and we got to get little Carol away from that boyfriend. His evil boyfriend's got her hooked on drugs, and they're not answering the phone, and they're not going to work. And if you see them, they look like vampires on a day pass, and it's all his fault. We got to get him away from her. So they came and took her to rehab, and then she got her 30-day chip, and they came back with a Beacon's truck and took everything, even the light bulbs. Problem with girls is you give them everything, they take it with them when they leave. But they left this one red light bulb. They did some jokes on their way out. They took everything, even the furniture, but they left this one red 25-watt light bulb in the living room. They took the fixture down and just put this red 25-watt, so it was like an opium den or something. And there's this one rickety dining room table that I fucking hated that table. She knew I hated that table, and it was the only thing that was actually hers. So I'm sitting on the floor with, Lance and Billy and drinking Crown Royal and smoking cocaine and, take a really good hit. And they're like, Billy's like, what are you going to do? I don't know. Rent me a room. No, I don't live with guys. So I take a really good hit, when you can hear a mouse pissing on cotton in the next room. And ping, idea. All I need now is a new girl and new furniture. 3 days later, all I needed was furniture. And Let's just fast forward the next 10 years. 6 girls, 6 evictions, 6 sets of furniture. Cops took away 6 different cars. I was in 6 different jails. Getting loaded is not the problem. I did figure out after the 4th one, just find a girl that has furniture. I just go over to your house and stay for like a year and a half. And I loved them all. I was going to marry them all. We was all going to live happy all ever after. Well, one at a time. But when the eviction was final and the neighborhood fell apart and the cops took away the car and I spent another holiday weekend in the back of the police station, and, you know, me and the girl never blamed anything on the drinking, never blamed anything on the drugs. It's just, oh, gee, a long string of circumstances beyond our control prevent us from hanging out anymore at this time, but I'll see you around. Love you, big much. You know, I'm still friends with every one of them. Every one of them needs a seat here, because if you can't party, I can't hang. And every time in between the eviction and, you know, the weekend in jail, you know, in 1989, I went to my first meeting, and people were here. And I remember the guy, I don't remember anything he said to me. I just remember the speaker saying, no matter how hard he held the wheel in his car, but he made a motion like this, so it must have been a Volkswagen van, because they have flat steering wheels. And he goes, no matter how hard he held the wheel, it just go to the liquor store. It would just go to the drug dealer house. It would just go to the bar. And I'm like, I had cars like that. I know cars like that. Yeah. Now I have cars that just go to the meeting. I'm supposed to be at work, and let's see what they're doing over at this meeting. That was before cell phones. Now it's a damn leash. You're sitting in the meeting. They're like, where are you? I thought you were delivering that shit, you know? And I was like, hey, traffic is bad. So in 1989, I went to my first meeting. In 90, I went to my first treatment center. In 91, I went to a different treatment center. 92, I went to rehab. 93, I went to court order drug diversion. Because all those people wanted this thing for me more than I did. I didn't know what you guys were doing. 94, I went on the run to end all runs, because you're trying to take this away from me. If you're new or used, no one can take your bottle away. Your beer bottle, whiskey bottle, vodka bottle, cooker bottle, shaker bottle, nobody can take it away from you. If they could, they would. If your ex, your mom, your fancy job, your boss, the police, the judge, if any of those people could have took it away from you, they would have. Okay, and they get pissed off when you get 6-month chip here, and we do more to fix you up than they could do in 10 years, you know. If you read chapter to the wives and the family afterward, they're irritated that we fixed you up, and now you want to hang out with us. And yeah, and people are like, you should do stand-up. I'm like, normal people don't think this is funny. I have tried it on them. They look at me like, why would you do that more than once? I'm like, no, 500 times, you know. Put down the magnifying glass and pick up the mirror. So I'm at a meeting, and you know, they say when you have the court cards and rehab and court order drug diversion, they want you to go to these meetings, and I would see the same people taking different cakes. Same people taking different cakes. And on page 25 in the big book, written the year my dad was born, it says, we saw that it really worked in others. Okay, and the next sentence, and we had come to believe in the hopelessness and futility of life as we'd been living it. It took me years to get from that sentence to that sentence. They're right next to each other on the same page, right? I was at a meeting once, and a court card signed or something, or some girl wanted to get sober, I don't know. And my dad worked 3 to midnight, and I'm at home with my mom and 2 sisters for my entire childhood. So all my friends are girls. I have like no use for men. I wouldn't know what to do with them anyway, you know. Even today, all my friends are girls. So I even had a girl sponsor for years. And my wife is like, she called my wife, is that okay? And he goes, you're the only one he listens to. You know, so, don't recommend it. Anyway, I think I'm special still. I'm in this meeting, and this lady grabs me by the elbow. And she goes, it was during the coffee break, she goes, you need to get down on your knees and ask God to remove the obsession. One of these same people taking different cakes, she's like, crap. And I being fairly convinced this might work, I refused to do it. Like, years of good partying left over here, lady. I mean, I didn't say that, but that's what I'm thinking. Years of good partying left over here, lady. And she just looked right through me like a piece of cellophane. She knew exactly what I was thinking. She goes, it's okay. The drugs will bring you to your knees. She said it like that. The drugs will bring you to your knees. The drugs will bring you to your knees. Can I go smoke a cigarette now? Did I get my court card? You know, and it was not 3 years of good party. It wasn't years of good partying left over here, lady. It was 3 miserable years later in a cheap motel room on Sepulveda Boulevard. I knew I was going to die. I knew I'm going to die. Unless I drop over dead from the one I did 5 minutes ago. And this doesn't happen to me. I smoked cocaine for 9 years. This only happens to other people. But I've been to enough meetings to know it's a progressive disease. When less is getting you more messed up, you're going to die. You've crossed every line there ever was. And when I ran out, I went down the corner and bought more. And I walked around for 17 years like, oh, I can quit at any time. Just not right now. And I so believed myself. You know, and I was so messed up in that cheap motel room on January 12, 1995. I couldn't sit down. I couldn't lay down. I couldn't walk around. The only place in that room I could get comfortable was on my knees with my face on the bed. And what came to my head was that fucking lady. The drugs will bring you to your knees. The drugs will bring you. Oh, great. Now you're here to fuck up my bed. As if I'm having fun at that point, right? And you know, we say, God, get me out of this. I'll never do it again. God always gets us out of it, and we always do it again. That day I said, you know what? Who cares to admit complete defeat? The first line, no, practically no one, of course. I had to admit I could not quit at any time. I could not quit for anyone. No human power could have relieved my alcoholism, and they had already tried. One day at a time, I traded everything I ever knew and loved for the right to stay loaded one more day. I did not know that's what I was doing when I did it, okay? Everything I ever knew and loved was gone. Everything I'd ever worked for was gone. Everything my friends and family ever gave me was gone. You know, if there was one more scam to pull, I would have stayed loaded one more day. If there was one more person to beg, borrow, or steal from, I would have stayed loaded one more. The war on drugs was over, and I lost. And I crawled into the Old Valley Club on Van Owen and Tampa at the 7 a.m. meeting on January 12, 1995. And the old guys were in the meeting that day, said, it's a game you can't win. The only way to win is not to play. And, you know, I'm like, oh, the big bad world has done me wrong. They're like, the big bad world did not do you wrong. You're not that important. They were ruthless, those old guys in those days, you know. They're all gone now. It's up to me to be mean. They would frisbee the notebook and throw chairs. And I'm at the noon meeting. I'm in a noon meeting in the Valley Club where the retired and the terminally unemployed people go. And this old guy's up at the podium. They used to yell at each other, crosstalk, you know. And this old guy's up at the podium going, I ain't never had a hangover. And this other old guy over here starts yelling. He goes, you gots to stop drinking to have a hangover. You could smoke in the meeting in those days. I'm over there chain smoking like, oh shit. No wonder I don't have hangover. Coming down sucks. They told me you never have to come down again. You never have to run out again. Running out sucks. That's not one of the choices. Coming down sucks. I don't know. Hangover? You know, I used to like smoke cocaine and stay awake for 7 years. You know, and if I went to sleep, you'd party without me. That's not it. Jeez. How do you do that? Well, I go over to your house for like 3 days, and you guys are tired, so I go over to his house for about 4 days. He's a good partier. Then I'm over at these people's house for like a week, and they're good partiers, but now they're tired. So then I go back over there because they're rested up, you know, and I know like 5 connections, so I'm kind of handy. And geez, they say if you stay awake for 3 days without drugs, you're legally insane. It's like, when we get here, we're nuts, you know, and ricochet rabbit. So, 2 treatment centers, 1 rehab, 1 quarter to drug diversion. I never had a sobriety date. I didn't know you needed one. I had this beat up mini truck I got in a drug deal. You had to jump in, push start it, bump second gear, and this guy who had like 10 and a half years wanted me to help him move furniture after the 7 a.m. meeting. And I go, okay, but we got to be able to park it somewhere where we can just push it. And he's like, okay. So we're going over there, and he goes, so what's your sobriety date? I had like 2 weeks. And he goes, I'm like, sobriety date? Huh? Huh? And he goes, when was the last time you got loaded on purpose? Well, 2 weeks ago, Tuesday, because I was supposed to be at Sober Living. And then I had that little voice telling you, run down to the corner, back in a minute, no one will know. Yeah, 3 days later, they noticed I was missing. When you go back to Sober Living, they're like paper or plastic, and 2 weeks. So he had a little Palm Pilot thing before they were fashionable, when everyone else had Day Planner. You remember that? And he gets it to Palm Pilot and he goes, January 12th, know it, live it, love it, learn it. And then he changed the subject to his furniture and his new house and blah, 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 blah. When you're 10 and a half years sober and the newcomer's helping you move and he has 2 weeks, that's as far away as the fucking moon. That's as far away as the fucking moon. And when I had 10 and a half years, I gave that guy a cake for 21 years. And last Saturday, I was at his fucking house for his 40th sober birthday. So that guy was nice to me when I was on the court card, nice to me when I was passed through. He was at the first meeting I was ever at. He was at my wedding. He was at the hospital when my kid was born. Oh, let's back up a little. I'm in a meeting, and this is in 1992, I think, and I met some girl in the meeting, and we're arguing over whether crystal meth or cocaine was better during the break. And I'm like, cocaine comes from a plant. Crystal meth comes from the paint store. It can't possibly be good for you. She goes, well, I didn't like smoking cocaine. I go, well, you didn't do it right. So I went over to her house, and, after about 11 months, she was 5 weeks away from a 1-year cake. And I had 7 months on a sort of court card, but I never had an honest 30 days, but she's like, if we don't party together, our relationship won't be complete. And her dad told me she's not a party animal, she's a party machine. And so she was 5 weeks away from a 1-year cake. So we're going to go out one night and not tell anyone and get a cake with a happy face that's winking because we're the only ones that know we went out one night. Only when we went out one night, 11 months later, it was the same night. That woman, we're married now. She also has 30 years sober. And it was like, she has 49 days more than me. And everyone's like, did she tease you about that? No. She's still pissed off. She didn't get her fair share of the dope that's all gone. Don't talk about it. 30 years later. So for our 10-minute speaker, I never got married for the first time until I was 36. To a girl who was 37, and for the first time she ever got married. And now my kid just graduated UCLA, and she has never seen either with zero debt. Because, Daddy doesn't spend his money on drugs. No. And she's never seen either one of us loaded, never seen either one of us smoke a cigarette. I haven't had a cigarette since the baby was born. You know how much 27 years at $5 a day is? More money than UCLA. Okay, so let's back up. I'm 4 days sober. They would always say in the meeting, well, those of you in your first, I was never in my first. January 95, I was actually in my first 30 days. I was in a big giant meeting, and the 4:30 at the Holden Sky used to be their biggest meeting back when it was at the other place in the big room. And old man Neil, this guy got sober on the Mayflower. I like listening to the new guy talk. I actually stood up as a newcomer. I had like 4 days. He goes, hey, new guy, get up here. Tell us what's really going on. So I get up in front of this big meeting, and I go, one more time I've partied myself out of house and home. One more time I've reduced myself to rubble. One more time I have no house, no job, no car, no driver's license. Warrants for my arrest. I owe everybody money. My friends want to hang out with me. My family wants nothing to do with me. And I had gray skin and yellow eyes and dark circles down to here, and I looked like a vampire in a day pass, and I had nowhere to go and all day to get there. And I go, and my family wants nothing to do with me. And somebody over here yelled, welcome, and everybody else starts clapping. It's the only place you're going to find where the more fucked up you are, the more we like you. The more messed up you are, the more we like you. But we don't expect you to stay that way. And I'm like, no, the big bad world did not do you wrong. You're not that important. Okay, I know, it was a long string of bad luck. And they said, no, it was a long string of bad choices. And you could start right here, right now, with a long string of good choices. Well, we don't know what that is. So you got to go to like 1,000 meetings. If you go to one a day, that's 2 years and 9 months. You listen to 10 or 15 people share, and so that's 10,000 shares. And, they read the promises. We will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. That takes like 1,000 meetings. And then when they say the serenity prayer, the wisdom to know the difference. That takes another 1,000 meetings. You know, one day at a time. I go to meetings, I listen to what people do and what happens when they do it. I listen to what people don't do and what happens when they don't do it. I listen to what people pray for and what happens when they get it. Right? You know the 1,000-year-old saying, careful what you pray for, you just might get it. People to me, I pray for patience. I end up waiting around all the time. Don't pray for patience. You end up waiting around all the time. Oh, I don't pray for love and tolerance. God will send you a half dozen assholes to practice on. Get up every day and say, God, please keep me sober today. And when you head to bed sober, you say thank you. And every time your head starts running, like, hey, run down to the corner. We'll be back in a minute. I don't know. God, please remove this obsession. It would just go away. 10 minutes later, hey, let's go over to the side store and get those little chocolate things with the rum in them. Those don't count. Like, God, please remove this obsession. It would just go away. 10 minutes later, hey, let's go around the complex, see what Red and Bob are doing. We'll smoke a bowl. It's just weed. It doesn't count. We're back in a minute. No one will know. Red and Bob don't care. God, please remove this obsession. That's every 10 minutes for the first 30 days. Okay? And any fool could get 24 hours. No, I couldn't. Okay? I don't run down the corner and come back in a minute. I run down the corner and come back in September. I have no delusions about her living through chemistry. You know, and then, it's every half hour for the next 30 days. That's why 30-day chips are so hard to get and so easy to lose. You know, and then my sponsor said shit like, if you clear away the wreckage of your past, the voices will quiet down. The steps are the way they are in the order they're in because we all come in here mad at the world and the world's mad at us. And if you want to stay sober, it's 12 and 12 and the big book talks about two-stepping. You do step 1 and you do step 12. You get a sobriety date, you get a bunch of people around you who care about your sobriety date, and you help them. That's how you stay sober. There's the only problem with that is the other 21 and a half hours of the day, we got to be there with those people. And we're mad at the world and the world's mad at us. How do I fix that? Oh, my God. You know, I admitted getting loaded is the problem. We don't give cakes around here for emotional stability. We all get nuts, but we don't get nuts on the same day. We all have tragedies, but we don't have tragedies on the same day. We all have great events, but we don't have great events on the same day. We all have a boring-ass day. So if you're having a boring-ass day, somebody's boring. Good. Bring your boring ass down to the meeting. Hug the guy who's having a broken heart. God is a better girl for you. We just haven't seen her yet. You know, console the guy whose job is moving to another state and he can't go. God has a better job for you. We just haven't seen it yet. And, the person whose mother's like old and falling apart. You know, and when you're in the meeting and people are talking about houses, jobs, cars, weddings, funerals, taxes, why are we listening to this guy talk about this? Don't worry. A day, a week, a month, 6 years from now, you'll be right in the middle of that. You know, today I have problems where I didn't used to have areas. So I need to do that without a buzz. How do I do any of that without a buzz? Especially if you like wake and bake and you spend every minute, you're like, step 2. You know, if you're new and they're going, do the 12 steps, that's bullshit. It's more like 37 steps. Step 1 has 2 parts. Write down 3 reasons you're powerless and 10 reasons your life's unmanageable. Right? Step 2, I came to believe that a power greater than myself it doesn't say in step 2 you could be restored to sanity. Step 2, the insanity in step 2 is not all the stupid shit you do when you're loaded. The insanity of step 2 is when you get 30, 60, 90 days, 9 years under your belt, and you go in that liquor store when you know it's only going to get you in trouble. When you go to the old neighborhood when you know it's only going to get you in trouble. If you're new and the old neighborhood keeps calling you, just invite them to the meeting. They'll stop calling. They call when they're ready. You know, it could. Every meeting you go to, they're going to get a sponsor, clear away the records of your past, build a new and better life, go to the step study, get spoon-fed this thing 3 pages at a time, clear away the records of your past, build it. I don't know which one of these keep me sober, but I'm afraid to give up the wrong one. But something in that, I don't know which one of these could restore me to sanity. In the big book, in between step 10 and 11, it says, by now sanity will have returned. Wow. That's not after a certain number of days, weeks, or months sober. It's after a certain pile of work. Clean up the fucking mess, and the voices will quiet down. You know, in between steps 9 and 10, it says, we will comprehend the word serenity, and we will know peace. My sponsor said, clear away the wreckage of your past. The voices will quiet down. You know, so... step 3, my will in my life. My will is, this program is not about how you feel. It's about how you act. You would know feeling if you had one. They go, if you act good, you'll feel good. The better you act, the better you feel. The longer you act good, the longer you feel good. I don't know how to do that, so I got to sit in a room full of jerks for like an hour every day How long do I have to come here? Until that chair gets comfortable. And what about after the chair gets comfortable? Until you die from something else. Right? I come here, my will is what I want, and my life is how I act. This program is not about how you feel, it's about how you act. And, what I will, what I want, nobody cares what you want. I call my mother, I don't like it. No one asked you what you liked. I call my sponsor, right? Nobody asked you what you liked. I don't want to. Nobody asked you what you wanted. I'm not gonna. Yes, you are. It's not fair. Nothing's fair. The fair is in Pomona. It's like, I could call my mother and she would say the exact same 5 responses and she'd be glad I called. Step 4, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. What does that mean? I don't know. That's how they talked in 1935. They said, put down the magnifying glass and pick up the mirror. Okay? And look over your shoulder at life as I had been living it. And step 5, it says admitted. Admitted to ourselves, admitted to God, to admit another human being, the exact nature. They told me, God already knows what you did. Your friends and neighbors all know what you did. I had to admit to myself, my life is a wreck because drugs and alcohol made it that way. My life is a wreck because I made it that way. I'm like, no. It was the girl I lived with, the girl I was supposed to live with, the guy I worked for, the guy I was supposed to work for, my mom, the teachers, the police, the lady next door. If all these people would have behaved the way I wanted them to behave on the day I wanted them to behave that way, I wouldn't be in your lame-ass meeting right now. And you guys, listen, Sonny, listen. Those people aren't at this meeting. Those people aren't at this meeting. It's not about who I can blame. It's about how I can change. Remember that guy Spencer? Perfect Elvis hair. Every time you called on the guy, he goes, it's not about who I can blame. It's about how I can change. I thought that was so cool. I was secretary of a step study 4 times before I realized that's in step 4 in the 12 and 12. It says, where others are concerned, the word blame must be removed from our speech and thought. As long as my life is their fault, my life can't be fixed. Right? It's not about who I can change. And don't drink anything, don't smoke anything, don't snort anything, don't take any pills. Do one thing to make your life better, go to the meeting tomorrow. Day will turn into a week will turn into a month will turn into 90 days. That's 90 things you've done to make your life better. When I got here, I was new. I'm going to fix it all. I'm going to fix it all by Friday. I'm going to fix it all by lunch. This time tomorrow, I'm going to have my shit together. No. This is slow bridey, kid. Took you 17 years to get into the woods. You're not getting out in 30, 60, 90 days. Maybe 1,000 days if you hurry. If you hurry. That's like 2 years and 9 months. If you're messed up enough to want this thing, probably take 2.5 years to clean up the mess. And if you're only on silent treatment with 3/4 of the family, keep getting loaded. You can wear out the rest of them, I promise. And it's going to take 2.5 years to get off silent treatment with some of them. So if you don't drink anything and you don't smoke anything, and don't be calling me, I'm getting my shit together this time. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it. I got my 6-month chip. I go over to my dad's house, one of the finest people ever to walk this planet. He's been retired, for years. And I go over there and he says, I go, look, Dad, look. And I gave him the 6-month chip on the dining room table. And he goes, that's for you. That's not for me. And he puts his finger on it and he goes, across the table about halfway. And I went, what he really meant was, seen it before, didn't believe it that time either, right? So I just casually put my finger on it, slid it the rest of the way across, dropped it in my lap, put it in my pocket, and then started talking about that pile of shit on the side yard. Let's put it in my truck and I'll take it to work and put it in the dumpster, Back to you now, Dad. And 6 months later, I went over there with a 1-year chip. And I gave him the 1-year chip, one of those black ones that says 1 year. And he goes, oh, this one I'll keep. It wasn't because the chip was better. It was because I was better. Okay? And we lived 2 blocks apart. Me and my dad got to be best friends for 56 years. 23 of those sober, And here's a funny story. I had scholarships to universities in other states. I didn't go. I went to like 5 years of college stoned and got 3 years worth of units. Pretty good grade point average. I go to class high. I take notes high. I study high, do the homework high, take the test high, and score high. Those are the kids I hang out with. And but I had scholarships in other states. We'll go in a minute. Oh, okay, we'll go next semester. We'll go in a minute. No, we'll go next semester. Next thing 10 years goes by, I didn't go. 20 years later, was a 12-year cake. I told my mom and dad to come give me a 12-year cake. I was like a month ahead of time, buttering them up for something I'm not going to get. And then the day happens, and my friends are like, come to my meeting. And my other friends are, come to my meeting. And take cake, come to my meeting. No, I told my mom and dad. Mason and Lassen, the big speaker meeting. That's Mother's Church anyway, you know. And I call up. Where's Mom? She took Nick to tennis. Oh, good. I'm off the hook with her. Dad, it's my birthday. He goes, no, it's not. Your birthday was 2 weeks ago. I go, no, Dad, I'm 12. He goes, oh, I'm over it now. Believe me, my first 3 or 4 years sober, he was not over it. All the opportunities I squandered, you know. One day at a time, I traded everything I ever knew and loved for the righteous day loaded one more day. I did not know that's what I was doing when I did it. But when I got here, they said, put down the magnifying glass and pick up the mirror. So let's do step 6 real quick. Stop being a jerk. Character defects. Step 7, start being a nice guy. I don't know how to do that, so I got to get up every day. God, please help me get up. God, help me to be nice. God, help me to be light and polite. God, help me go to work and do the jobs they want me to do. I want to do all the easy jobs. No, God, help me. God, help me. God, help me. I don't want to go to my sister's kid's stupid fucking thing. God, help me to get out of bed. Let me leave early, get there on time. You know. Step 6, stop being a jerk. Step 7, start being a nice guy. Step 6, stop being a taker. Step 7, start being a giver. Step 6, stop being late every fucking place. Step 7, start being early, you know. See what you can bring to every situation. And then after like 6 months or a year, 2 years, the normies will say shit to you that's really irritating. Oh, you're not half the jerk you used to be. As if to imply I used to be a jerk. Like, now I just got to smile and nod and say, you have no idea. You're going to sit with a room full of jerks every day to realize when I'm being subtly bad or angrily bad, or listen how that one behaved on the freeway and that one behaved at Mother's and that one hates her sister, that one loves her sister, that one hates her coworkers. How do I do that without grace and dignity? You know, I got to come here and listen to you guys. And, you know, you come to the meeting and you see that one guy, oh, I've been sober 14 years. I ain't been to a meeting in 9 years and nobody wants to play with me. Because you're a jerk and you don't even know it because you don't come listen to us jerks act like a fool. And what it's like today, I've been with the same girl like 33 years, 30 of those sober, 30 and a half sober. Oh, my God. You know, 28 of those married. My kid just turned 27. She never seen either one of us loaded, never seen either one of us smoke a cigarette. And you can go to 27 weddings and not drink. You can go to 27 funerals and not drink. You know, you can go to 30 Super Bowl parties and not drink, and 30 New Year's Eves, and 30 Valentine's Day, even if your date stands you up, and, 30 funerals, even for people you did like, you know, and not drink. And I've had the opportunity to, I know a couple people I used to party with, they're still going. And you know what? They've not had a career. They've not had a marriage. They don't have successful children, you know, so everything I own, I owed Alcoholics Anonymous. When I got here on nothing, I had so much nothing. If you knew me the day before I got sober, I owed you money. So remember those old printers with a box of paper? That was what was in my head when you talked about step 8. Made a list. That paper would never stop coming out. Fast forward 10 years, 15 years, you know, having a bad day. People, how can you be so fucking happy all the time? I used up all my bad days before I got here. I can definitely conjure up a bad hour and a half before I realize that's what I'm doing. And people are like, why didn't you make a gratitude list? You know what I think of when people say that to me? That fucking printer. That would just be bragging, lady. Get away from me, you know? And then all of a sudden my AA was supposed to be attitude adjustment, but I guess that was already copywritten. I don't know, I want to hit you all with a bucket of sobriety, but, you know, step 12, having had, the steps are in the past tense. Here are the steps we took. You do whatever the fuck you want. You know, these guys had their shit together. I did not have my shit together. Here are the steps we took, having had, past tense, a spiritual awakening, past tense, as the result, past tense of these steps, we tried to carry this message and to practice these principles. Step 1, I learned honesty. 2, hope, faith, courage, integrity, you know, willingness, brotherhood, justice, spirituality, you know, service. If I practice honesty, hope, faith, and courage, all my affairs, they just go smoother. You know, and if you're going to the step study, don't ditch out for the 11 weeks there on the traditions. Because if you take these to work and your home and your neighborhood, you don't have to tell them about it. Just have them in your brain, and that all goes so much smoother. The simple, silly suggestions I've gotten around here, I could not have made up on my own. They told me when I was new, get a piece of paper, write down everything you want out of sobriety, and then lick it, staple it, glue it, fold it up, put it in your sock drawer. If you don't have a sock drawer, put it in your duffel bag. And if you don't drink anything, and you don't smoke anything, you don't snort anything, you don't take any pills, and you can make it around the sun, we'll give you a cake. If you think getting a cake is so easy, let's see you get one. And then you take that envelope out, and you'll see you shortchanged yourself. The things I've got in Alcoholics Anonymous I cannot have put in that envelope, didn't know I wanted them, didn't know they were available to me. I'm not sitting there at 29 days sober. I would like a appropriate dependence on a power greater than myself that will solve all of my problems. And I would like some unlimited friends and unlimited opportunity. No, I want a house on the hill and a Ferrari. They're like, don't spend your money on drugs. Like, fuck, who knew? I want to hit y'all with a bucket of sobriety. I came here to save my life. I stayed here to change my life. Today I come here because this is where my friends are. That's the only place where you can sit in a room full of strangers and reminisce. You can go to meetings in Arizona and New York and London and have instant friends. Always go to the out-of-town meeting. It's a tourist attraction and make some new friends. Oh, when I come to California, I'm staying at your house. Okay. If you're not having fun in sobriety, you're not doing it right. And if you don't like this meeting, during the break, go ask the other people chain smoking, like, where's the meeting with the cool kids? And when you go home to Oklahoma or Mississippi or Kentucky, and you don't like the meeting, say, hey, where's the meetings with the cool kids? Or start your own. If you're not having fun in sobriety, you're not doing it right. So I need you way more than you need me. So I'm going to keep coming back. Thanks.